It is a new role for many grandparents in Kentucky, being parents to young children again. The Cabinet for Health and Family Services says there's been a 26% increase in the number of children leaving the state's care and going to live with a relative, many times a grandparent. And many times it's because the parents are struggling with drugs. WKYT's Miranda Combs takes us to Rowan County.
This one was Jacob when he was a baby. And this was his mommy when she was a baby.
You can read a family's history by the pictures on the wall. The good times, mostly.
That's when we went on a cruise last year. He loved it.
But behind this smile is a mom.
I'm 32, and I'm just now getting it together.
That caused this grandmother her share of heartache.
It's a terrible thing. I mean, I used to go hunt for her on the street and try to bring her home. And one day she told me, she says, "Mom, you can't do this. You're going to get killed out here. You don't know what you're doing."
So Doris Whitaker stayed back and raised the rest of her family in her Rowan County home and let her daughter, Kayla, deal with her drug addiction in Lexington alone for years.
I was at a very bad place in my life at that point.
And the night she went in labor, she called me. Of course, I went.
And she met her first grandchild.
He was a doll.
But the hospital visit turned into more of a promise.
I had to take him, I had to take care of him.
I felt like he was better off without me if I couldn't get my stuff together.
I didn't know what I was going to do. But the neighbors, everybody found out I was coming home with a baby and had nothing. And by the time I got home with him, I didn't need for anything.
And 7 years went by and hung on the wall.
Did you think about him?
A lot. And I just couldn't get it together. I just couldn't get it together for a long time.
This family is more common than not these days. Rowan County Attorney Cecil Watkins.
I talk to a grandparent every day that's raising their grandkids. Every day.
He says in his county, 90% of the time children are taken from their parents' custody, it's because of drugs. And one of the first calls Child Services makes is to family, grandparents.
They don't have to, and I feel kind of bad for them at different points because, you know, they've already raised one child and then they're having to raise other children.
It's so common in court, his pep talk has a single message. The change in roles make for a long road.
I usually have the conversation with them when it comes to their particular child. Your grandchild's first, and that's priority one.
If he asks questions now, we just try to tell him that she was sick, and it is a sickness.
And now her 7-year-old sees her well.
I'm not where I want to be right now, but I've definitely come a long way from where I was at.
She's been sober almost a year. Her mother still has custody of her son.
He needs his mom. I mean, I'm grandma. Even though, you know, I played the role, I'm still grandma. She's his mother, and she'll be a good one.
Plenty of space for new history to be made.
I'm getting it together slowly but surely, but, you know, I just got to take things one day at a time and not overwhelm myself.
He keeps me young. I mean, you know, when you're up in your 40s running after a little one, they keep you hopping. I mean, I can't say I regretted it. I'm just thankful to have them all back together now.
And in regard to that 26% increase in children being placed with relatives statewide, keep in mind that's just the children that went from the state's custody to a relative's care. It doesn't include the number of children that go straight from a relative to another relative in the family.
And Miranda, we might add, this just isn't grandparents are having to take custody, right?
Right, those state numbers were actually any relative, and when the promo started for this story, I got an email from somebody that said, hey, don't forget about aunts and uncles that are stepping in for this as well. So it takes a family.
It certainly does. Miranda, thank you.